Nothing gets me more excited for an upcoming NBA season than some hot takes. So a few days ago, I asked you guys on Twitter to give me some bold takes for the upcoming 2024 NBA season. I picked 10 out of these 200 plus replies. So thank you to everybody that is following me on Twitter and interacting with me over there. Link to my Twitter is in the description below if you want to get featured in the next one of these. And I want to hear your thoughts on these hot takes in the comments as well. And do you think it's a good take or do you think it's an unrealistic take? And if you guys do enjoy these videos, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. And without further ado, let's get into it. So I really like this first one from Jordan Parrish, and he says that Miami will miss the playoffs. This is a really interesting take because last year the Heat were a play-in team as the 7th seed and lost in the first leg of the play-in to the Atlanta Hawks. Then they were able to beat the Bulls and then ended up upsetting the 1-seeded Bucks, beat the Knicks, beat the Celtics, and then lost in the NBA Finals as an 8 seed to the Denver Nuggets. But they went on a miraculous playoff run behind playoff Jimmy, and they lost some notable guys this offseason with Gabe Vincent go to the Lakers, Max Strus going to the Cavs, and Victor Oladipo going to the Thunder. They're also going to see veterans like Kevin Love and Kyle Lowry get up there in age after we saw them take a step back last year. Now they still have a great trio at the top with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero, but they're really going to have to rely on some of their young guys like 2022 first round pick Nikola Jovic and 2023 first round pick in Jaime Jaquez. They also need to see either Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo take the next step to being that clear-cut number 2 to Jimmy's 1. And they brought in some nice veteran pieces like Josh Richardson, a nice homecoming there in Miami, Thomas Bryant, and other guys that are going to be playing on the Heat once again like Orlando Robinson or Hayward Highsmith might have to break out this season. Now I'm predicting the Heat to make the playoffs 100%, but this is not a bad take whatsoever because if they get a major injury or just have a rough end to the regular season like they did in 2023, the East is bound to be a little bit more competitive this season with other teams like the Orlando Magic, Indiana Pacers, and Toronto Raptors being more competitive. This Heat team isn't a for sure lock as a top 6 seed in the East. And who knows, maybe the play-in tournament doesn't go their way and they do miss the playoffs. This isn't a bad take whatsoever. Daniel Merriman says that the Boston Celtics are going to win 60 plus games and Kristaps Porzingis is going to win DPOY. Now, if Porzingis did win Defensive Player of the Year, this would be the second Celtic to win it in the last 3 years, with Marcus Smart winning it in 2022. Now, I 100% agree with Daniel that the Celtics are going to win 60 games. I think that they are almost a lock to get the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. We just talked about the Miami Heat and how they might not be a top seed in the East this year. The 76ers don't have the depth, especially if they trade away James Harden to be the number 1 seed in my opinion. The Bucks have had an injury history over the last few years and have a lot of veterans on their team, so I don't think that they can get the 1 seed either. And yes, we could see teams like Cleveland or New York or Atlanta really exceed expectations this year, but I think it's going to be a lock that the Celtics win 60 plus games, get the 1 seed in the East because their roster is so deep. Yes, they lost Marcus Smart this offseason, but they picked up Kristaps Porzingis in that trade. Jordan Walsh looked really good throughout the summer league. It's going to be another year of experience with Joe Mazzulla at the helm. And yeah, you won't have to worry about the Jaylen Brown contract drama as he just recently signed the Supermax extension. And you add in the 2023 Sixth Man of the Year in Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, Derek White, who improved so much last year, especially in the playoffs, Al Horford, Sam Hauser, and others. I think that the Celtics roster is insanely deep around their top guy, Jason Tatum, and they, in my opinion, are a lock to get the 1 seed, 60 plus wins. Good take on that side from Daniel. Now, I don't think that Kristaps Porzingis is going to win DPOY. I don't think he's going to stay healthy enough throughout the season and really be relied on as that top rim protector on this Celtics team. Because when he is healthy, that goes to Time Lord Robert Williams, but that's a big if as well. There's a lot of injury concerns between Kristaps and Time Lord, but Kristaps looked great last year, and hey, maybe the Celtics win 60 plus games. Kristaps is maybe that starting center at year's end and averages a career high in blocks and steals, and that makes this a bold take for sure. I agree with the latter part of Daniel's bold take, but not the first part of it with Kristaps winning DPOY. EVZ mentions that Jonathan Kuminga is going to win 6th Man of the Year for the Warriors and also puts up 17 points and 6 rebounds on 56% shooting. Now, I'm going to preface this. I love Jonathan Kuminga. I was super high on him coming out of the 2021 draft. I was very shocked when he fell to 7th overall, but I don't think there's a chance that Kuminga gets 6th Man of the Year and puts up 17 points a night. Now, in a recent video of mine, I predicted 10 guys that will break out and have the best years of their career next year, and one of those players, spoiler alert, was Jonathan Kuminga. But I just think that this Warriors team is too deep, and he's going to be behind veterans like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Thompson and Andrew Wiggins in the scoring pecking order. Now, it definitely helps out Kuminga with Jordan Poole leaving and Chris Paul coming in, because Chris Paul is more of a facilitator and isn't going to average as many points as Jordan Poole did last year for Golden State. So I do think we'll see Kuminga maybe get in that 12 to 14 range, which would be a massive improvement for him. He shot 51% as a rookie from the field, 52% last year, so it's not completely out of question for him to average 56% shooting overall. So I think a more realistic stat line for Kuminga would be like 12 points per game, 5 rebounds on around 56% shooting a night. Now, I do think that there's some better 6 man of the year candidates out there, so I'm not on the train with EVZ predicting that, but I do agree with him that he's going to improve and have the best season of his career next year. This one comes from Seth Crosby, and he's predicting Jalen Brunson to average 30 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, join the 50-40-90 club, and win MVP for the New York Knicks. Now, as much as I love Jalen Brunson and the Knicks, as a Knicks fan, I don't think that Jalen Brunson is going to win MVP this year. Now, I love this being a complete bold take, because he's definitely a dark horse candidate to win. The Knicks are an extremely deep team, and who knows, they could surprise some people and be a top 2 seed in the East. And I think we can all agree Jalen Brunson will be the #1 scorer on this team, but I do think it's going to be tough for him to average 30 points a night, because he did average 24 last year, but they have 2 other primary scorers in RJ Barrett and Julius Randle on the team that are bound to average 18 plus a night. Then you add in guys like Josh Hart, Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickly, and the newly acquired Dante DiVincenzo. I don't know if there's going to be enough volume for Jalen Brunson to average 30 points. He did shoot 49% from the field last year and 41% from 3, so it is completely possible for him to average 50% from the field and 40 from 3. He shot 83% from the line last year. 2 years ago in 2022, he had a career high at 84%, so we need to see his free throw percentage jump up 6 percentage points to be in the 50-40-90 club. And hey, if he checks off all 3 of those boxes, averages 34 and 8 on 50-40-90 splits, and the Knicks are a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference and win 50 plus games, the market, the narrative can help Jalen Brunson, especially if he has a great FIBA run as one of the top captains on that team. So the narrative's definitely in place for a Knick to win MVP, and that's why this is a bold take. I don't hate it overall, but I do think it's a little bit of wishful thinking. Best Hot Takes mentions that not only will the Houston Rockets make the playoffs, but they'll win a first round series. Now, every year there's a team that really exceeds expectations. In 2021, it was the New York Knicks. In 2022, it was the Chicago Bulls. Last year, it was the Sacramento Kings. But to be honest with you, I don't think either of these happen. I don't predict that the Houston Rockets will make the playoffs. I don't think that the Houston Rockets will win a round 1 series, because I don't think that they will make the playoffs. Now, this team is still incredibly young. They did add veterans like Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, Jock Londale, brought in new head coach Ime Udoka. I loved most of those moves, more the Udoka and VanVleet signing than the Brooks and Londale signings. And they have a plethora of young talent that we've talked about countless times on the channel, with Jalen Green, newly drafted Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore, second and third year frontcourt guys like Jabari Smith Jr. and now Perun Şengün. I think that this Rockets team is going to be in that play-in tournament conversation, but I do think that they could be last year's OKC Thunder. Really see this young core develop, be flirting with the play-in tournament most of the season, maybe even make it as the 10th or 9th seed, but don't fully make the playoffs. Because even if they do make the playoffs as an 8th or 7th seed, I can't see this team beating like a Denver or a Memphis or a Golden State or a Lakers team in round 1. So yeah, I do believe that the Houston Rockets are going to take a massive step forward in their rebuild this year, but I don't think that they're going to be seeing playoff basketball just yet. I think we have to wait till 2025 to see that. This one comes from Stifle Tower. He says that Rudy Gobert doesn't have a bad back anymore and is going to contend for his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award. It would be crazy if Rudy Gobert did win his 4th DPOY. That would probably lock him in as a first ballot Hall of Famer. And it's crazy because he's definitely one of the more hated players around the league. And I know you guys have been seeing him taking threes in the FIBA league right now for France, but I could totally see this. Usually when a big trade like this happens for even a player like Gobert, who's so acclimated to his system, especially what he did in Utah, it was bound to take a year learning under Chris Finch's defensive system, playing next to Karl Anthony Towns in the front court, something he hasn't really done in his 10-year career so far. So I 100% think that Gobert is going to have a much better 2024 and his 2nd year in Minnesota than he did last year with them. And we know that DPOY is mainly a center award, so there's going to be guys like Miles Turner, Bam Adebayo, Jaren Jackson Jr., Brook Lopez, all fighting for this DPOY award, but Gobert definitely has the track record to get it, so this is 100% possible. And yeah, I just think overall that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be much better this year, just seeing that jump from Anthony Edwards, and just another year of experience with Cat and Gobert playing together in the front court. This one comes from Fields and Mooney season. He says that Nikola Jokic will regain his all-star play as the Bulls Bulls finish as the 3 seed in the East. And he also thinks that LaVine and DeRozan are going to be all-stars, and we see a jump from Kobe White and Patrick Williams this season. Now, there's actually a bunch of hot takes in this one tweet, so we'll dissect it part by part. Now, I don't think that Nikola Vucevic is going to be an all-star this season. I do think we're going to see him be around what he was last year for the Bulls, averaging around 17 points and 11 rebounds, which isn't bad whatsoever. I also don't think that the Bulls are going to finish as the 3 seed. I think there's a more likely chance that they miss the playoffs altogether than finish as a top 6 seed in the East, because it's really hard to put them ahead of Boston, Milwaukee, New York, Cleveland, Philly, and potentially Miami and Atlanta right now. And then, like I said before, you may see jumps from Orlando or Indiana, and it's looking more likely that the Bulls, who made some minor moves this offseason, picking up Javon Carter, Torrey Craig, aren't going to really take a huge jump next year. I think there's a chance that either one of LaVine or DeRozan becomes all-stars. I do think that Zach LaVine has become underrated throughout the league due to his massive contract. I also do think that Kobe White is going to have a significant jump. I did like that re-signing by the Bulls, and I'm not going to fully commit and say that Patrick Williams will break out this season. I thought it was going to happen for the last 2, and maybe we see him become an all-world defender this year. That is definitely a possibility, but I think it's more likely on the defensive end than the offensive end, because he's still going to be the 3rd, 4th, 5th scoring option for the Bulls, being behind LaVine, DeRozan, and Vucevic. This one comes from Joshua, and he says that the Pacers are going to be a top 5 seed in the East. Now, I've been saying this as of late. I think we got to cool down just a little bit on the Pacers hype, because while I do love what the Pacers did this offseason, drafting Jarris Walker, signing Bruce Brown, and keeping their core of Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, Benedict Mathurin all happy and together, I don't think that the Pacers are going to be a top 6 seed in the East. I talked about it a little bit before. I still think Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, New York, Cleveland, and even Atlanta are clearly better at the moment. Now, if Indiana stays fully healthy, yes, there's a chance they definitely make the playoffs as a top 6 seed. They could be 5 or 6. But in my opinion, I would say it's more likely that they end up as a back-end play-in team at 9 or 10 than a top 6 seed. But hey, maybe I'm underrating this Pacers team, and I love watching Tyrese Halliburton on every single night because he is so much fun to watch, and he proved to me that I can actually evaluate prospects at some times, because I did predict him to be the 4th best player in the 2020 draft class. But I do think that there's a good chance that the Pacers end up in the play-in tournament. Maybe they do get the 8 seed, but there's a more likely chance that they end up as a top 6 seed in 2025. And the last one comes from Cleveland HQ. He says that Joel Embiid gets traded at the deadline, Sixers miss the playoffs, and they rebuild again. All right, so this would be a massive thing to happen. Now, I don't think a player of Joel Embiid's stature, somebody that's under contract for still a couple more seasons, gets traded at the deadline. I think that would 100% be more of an off-season trade. And with a James Harden looking more and more likely on the horizon after coming out and saying that Daryl Morey is a liar and he's never going to play for him ever again, and the Sixers are most likely going to get pennies on the dollar in return for a James Harden trade, that this team, with not a lot of depth, and Embiid, Maxey, PJ Tucker, Tobias Harris at the top, isn't really going to do much in the playoffs. So there is a chance that this is a rough reset year for Philadelphia. Embiid isn't happy. He doesn't see a clear-cut pathway for them winning a championship in the next 2 to 3 years, and he does as scout. Now, there's a chance that they maybe exceed expectations after trading James Harden, and then Embiid recruits his buddy Pascal Siakam over, and they end up with Pascal Siakam next offseason. Sure, that could happen, but I don't know how likely that really is, and I think Embiid might ask for a trade next offseason if this season ends up being a disaster, as we all think it may be. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy that, me reacting to your guys' 2024 hot takes. Let me know if you guys enjoyed by dropping a thumbs up on this video, and let me know how these went in the comments below. Did you agree with most of them? Disagree? And if you have any hot takes that weren't mentioned in this video, maybe for a team like the Grizzlies, the Lakers, or the Pistons, let me know in the comments. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I love you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.